Have you ever woken up, looked at your life, and thought, why does my life feel so average? Not broken, but not impressive either. Not a failure, yet far from something you're proud of. And the strange part is, that feeling comes without a major disaster. No big mistake, no dramatic loss. Just a quiet flatness that slowly convinces you something is wrong with you. But what if it isn't? What if feeling ordinary isn't an accident? What if it's the result of a design? From a young age, you're taught rules that sound harmless. Follow instructions, don't stand out too much, listen to authority. Good grades are rewarded, strange questions are ignored. Creativity is tolerated only when it's convenient. Slowly, you learn an unspoken lesson. Being safe matters more than being honest with yourself. So you comply. Not because you're weak, but because you want to belong. And without realizing it, the world does something subtle but powerful. It makes you forget who you were before expectations arrived. Then you grow up and enter what's called a free world, but the pressure doesn't disappear. It just becomes more polished. You're free to choose, but the options are already laid out. You can be anything as long as it's not too different. You're allowed to dream as long as your dreams make sense to others. And whenever you feel behind, the world gives you the same answer: try harder. No one ever taught you how to understand yourself first. At this stage, many people turn inward and start blaming themselves. They label themselves lazy, undisciplined, not smart enough, not brave enough. But psychology has a cold term for this pattern: learned helplessness. When someone experiences repeated situations where effort doesn't change outcomes, the brain eventually stops trying. Not because the person is weak, but because the brain learns that resistance is pointless. The world doesn't need to cage you. It only needs you to believe that nothing you do will matter. Then comes one of the most efficient machines ever created: social comparison. Every day, whether you notice it or not, you compare your life to fragments of other people's lives. Not the full story, just their highlights: achievements, happiness, success, confidence. Your brain doesn't care whether it's curated or real. It registers one thing: you're behind. And when that message repeats often enough, your sense of enough slowly disappears. Comparison itself isn't the problem, it's human nature. The problem is scale. In the past, you compared yourself to people around you. Now you're compared to the entire world, all day, every day. Algorithms don't care about your mental health. They care about attention. The more inadequate you feel, the longer you stay. That isn't coincidence, it's a mechanism. Eventually, a dangerous illusion forms. Everyone seems special except you. But what you're seeing are people who passed the algorithm's filter. Ordinary lives, confusion, failure, doubt. Those don't perform well, so they're hidden. Not because they're rare, but because they're unprofitable, and your brain draws the wrong conclusion. Being average is a personal failure, not a systemic outcome. Education often reinforces this idea. You're measured by numbers, not direction. Taught to answer, not to question. Speed is rewarded, slowness is left behind. Not every kind of intelligence fits inside a classroom, yet when you don't fit, the conclusion is always the same: you're lacking, not the system. And that's where many dreams quietly die before they ever get a chance to grow. Over time, you start shrinking yourself, hiding parts of you that are considered too sensitive, too strange, too much. You become easier to accept, but further away from who you actually are. The world calls this maturity. Often, it's just a softer form of surrender. You're alive, you function, but you're not fully present. What's rarely said is this: the modern world doesn't need people who feel special. It needs people obedient enough to keep moving, tired enough not to question, and busy enough not to notice. People who feel ordinary are easier to manage, easier to sell standards to, easier to keep chasing a sense of lack. And when you start to feel angry about it, the system already has a response. If you're angry, you're labeled negative. If you question things, you're called ungrateful. So many people stay silent, not because they agree, but because they're exhausted. This video isn't here to tell you that you're special in a cheap way. It's not here to motivate you to be great. It's here to dismantle the lie that you must be extraordinary to deserve worth, that your value is tied to productivity, achievement, or recognition. That narrative isn't truth, it's utility. Feeling average doesn't mean you failed. It might mean you're living in a world that isn't designed to recognize your uniqueness, like judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree. The problem isn't the fish, but after being told long enough, the fish starts to believe it's broken. The real question isn't how do I become special, but who benefits from me feeling insufficient. When you ask that, something shifts. You stop attacking yourself. You start looking outward at systems, patterns, incentives, and awareness is the one thing every system fears. Awareness doesn't make life easier right away. Often it does the opposite, but it gives you clarity. The emptiness you feel isn't because you're defective. The sense of lack isn't proof of failure. It may be an alarm, signaling a gap between who you are and the role you've been forced to play. From here, everyone's path is different. There's no formula, no dramatic ending, just a small but powerful change. You stop calling yourself the problem. You stop believing your life has to look impressive to be meaningful. In a world built on comparison, that alone is resistance. If you've felt alone with these thoughts, you're not. Many people just don't have the words yet. This video isn't a solution, it's a mirror. And maybe for the first time, you can see that feeling ordinary isn't a flaw, it's a signal, and signals are meant to be listened to. Because maybe the world was never meant to make you feel special, but that doesn't mean you have no value. It just means you're living in a system that doesn't celebrate whole human beings, and realizing that is the first step towards slowly taking your life back on your own terms.